Welcome to Coil Vase Part 3. I'm in my home studio instead of in my classroom studio. So the first thing I want to show you guys is how I wrap up my project to make sure it is ready to go for the next day's use. So let's get started. I'm at my work table. So my project is wrapped up. This is a kitchen garbage bag. So I have it wrapped all the way around and also wrapped kind of burrito style. I have two projects in here. Let me get this one here. Okay, so when we last left off, we had this piece completed. To make sure your projects stay the same squishy consistency that you want it to be, you're going to take your garbage bag. Let me see if I can get this a little bit higher. Okay, so I have my trash bag. This side is sealed, and this side way over here is my open side. And this particular type has the drawstrings. Okay, so I'm going to put the open side over there, and I'm going to put my project a little bit closer to the closed and sealed side. I'm going to take this end and fold it up and over the top of my project. Okay. I'm making sure that I don't have a bunch of space left over. Sometimes you'll only get to fold it up to like here over your project. My project's so small, I'm going to keep it small like this. And then I'm going to take the edges. This is my project. I'm going to bring this up and over. So now my project's right here, and I've got this extra layer of plastic. I'm going to take this other side and fold it up and over. Right, and my project's right here. Since it's so small, I can actually wrap it around the back. Okay. And now my project's right here, but I have this tail of plastic. This tail of plastic is going to go up, over, and wrap around and keep wrapping around. This way I have 6, 7, 8 layers at least of plastic completely wrapping my piece. If I just put my project inside the bag, then I only have one layer, and if there's a hole anywhere, it's going to actually dry out my piece, and I don't want that. So we wrap it up like a burrito, which is one of my favorite foods. So I have my project and take my plastic and set it aside so it's out of my way. I have my disc, and I have my coil part started. I need to get a piece of paper to rotate this on and some clay. Okay, so I have my piece of paper. I just fold that in half and then in half again. So now I'll be able to rotate that. And I have my clay. Okay, I'm going to start with just a hunky chunk of clay. So I'm going to need to make sure my clay is soft enough to work with. This clay feels a little bit stiff, so I'm going to break it up into little chunks. Add a little bit of moisture to it. I'm actually going to just get both hands really wet and kind of squish it all back together. And this will really make it slimy. Then you break it in half and squish it back together again. And it'll go from slimy to sticky to perfect. So it's still slimy. I want my coils to be relatively soft. No stiff coils, because then we have cracking problems, and you don't want to have cracking problems. Some of you guys may be using different clays for this, and that's okay, because you can do coil vases with a variety of different types of clay. The biggest thing you need to be concerned with is the thickness that your clay can handle and what temperature your clay fires at. So the clay that most of my beginning students are using is a cone 5-6 clay. And the clay that my advanced students are using is the only clay I could get my hands on in the classroom during this lockdown, And so it is actually a cone 10 clay. So I have two different cone temperatures I'm working with now. Okay, so that's nice and reworked. I'm just going to wipe my surface, try to get any water off of there. And I'm going to start going into what I call coil production. So I pre-rolled, and now I'm rolling with my hands. And it's going to take practice, okay? Your first few coils are going to be not very great, and that's okay. It takes time to get good at coils. Okay? It takes time, energy, and effort. You want them to be consistent, even, and you don't want any weird bumps or lumps. So this is about as thick as a small highlighter. Okay, it's not one of those giant highlighters. It's as thick as a small highlighter. It's still bendy and flexy. I'm going to make sure I maybe add some water to it just so that way it stays nice and moist. And I'm going to set it aside, and I'll do another one. Okay, so again, I'm going to pre-squeeze and get this into a log shape. I may even pre-roll a little bit to even it out in my hands, and then I'll finish rolling on the table. Okay, we're just about at the right thickness. And if you're not really sure, you can grab one of the coils you've already made and double check it and see if they're close. It looks like my second one is a little bit fat, so I'm going to roll it out a little bit more. Okay. And again, it's bendy and flexy. I'm going to add some moisture to it just to maintain its moisture content. I have been rolling it around on a porous surface. I'm going to go ahead and do another one. So now I have a bunch of coils. If you want, you can pre-roll just a ton of coils and wrap them up in their own plastic bag. Remember, don't put them inside a bag. You wrap the bag around them so you get multiple layers of plastic, keeping the moisture in instead of just one layer. So if you want to spend just your day doing coil production and then the next day adding coils, that actually makes it go really fast. When you get in the groove of making coils, it's hard to stop and switch gears. So it's one option you could do. But you do want to make enough coils for you to actually work with. Don't make a tiny coil and then work on a tiny coil. You need to make a few so you can actually get some stuff done. Okay, and again, add a little bit of moisture to it and get going. Okay, so now I'm ready for my piece. And you can use a variety of tools for scoring. You can use a fork. You can use a needle tool. You can use a toothpick. I have this handy dandy scoring tool that I'm going to be using for mine because as a potter, I have cool tools. Okay. But there's lots of things you could use to get this part of the job done. Let me bring you in a little bit closer so you have a better idea of what we're up to right now. Okay, so I have scored the tops of my base. I'm going to add some slip, which I left on the other side of the room. Okay, I'm going to use my fork to stir my slip. There we go. There's my slip. Okay, and I'm just going to get some slip on those edges. Remember, we dab the slip on. We don't wipe it on. When you wipe it on, you end up closing those little holes you just made. And the coils are fresh, so we won't need to slip and score the coils as long as this is really nicely slipped and scored. I never keep the ends of my coils because they always have this weird indentation on them. So I like to pinch off just the tip of my coil and get rid of it. Oops, get rid of it. So I'm going to just gently lay this coil on the top and rotate my piece. And this would be where you grab your template and you check it against your template. Now I'm going to go up. I'm starting to build up. So instead of breaking off my coil right here, because I have extra and I've already gone all the way around, I'm going to do something called ramping. Okay, so I'm going to take a tool, a knife, a needle tool, something that cuts clay. Okay, and I'm going to cut a ramp. Let me get you a little bit closer for this. Instead of my coil going up and over, there's this big hole right here. So I'm going to cut a ramp just like this. So now I have somewhere for my coil to climb up. So it's going to climb up, and now I don't have that hole, and it's going to go back on top of the existing coil. And as you work this, you can start to lay the coil either on the inside of the existing coil and get it to curve in, or on the outside of the existing coil and it'll get it to go outward. So we're going to do this all the way around. And again, I'm going to nip off that end. I'm going to grab one of my other coils that I made, nip off that end, marry them together real quick like this, and just squish. Now they're attached. And I'm going to add a bunch of coils at a time to build height quickly, and then I'll go and blend in. You don't want to add more than like 4 or 5 layers at a time, because then it becomes cumbersome and floppy. Okay, so that's 4 layers right here, and I'm getting close to my limit. Pinch, pinch, squish, connect, and here we go. Okay, now I want to pause and look at my ramp. Okay, your ramp is your start-stop point. So I'm going to see if I can go 1 more revolution around all the way. If I can, great. If I can't, then I have to go back and cut it off where that ramp is. And so I can't make it all the way around. So I'm going to find that spot where that ramp is. And I'm going to try to match that ramp cut and remove that coil that I have too much of. Okay. All right. Before we do any blending, you're going to just gently squeeze and align the coils where you think they belong based on the form you're making. Okay, so we're just kind of lining everything up. Rotate it, line it up. Make sure it's going the right direction. Make sure it's not going straight out or straight up. You want to make sure you have the right angle. Okay. Next thing you want to do is blend the inside first. We always blend the inside first. It makes it more stable. So I'm going to support the outside wall with my hand. I'm going to take my thumb and physically smush the clay. I'm not taking at the very top of the coil. I'm going at the side of the coil. So if I were to blend this coil, it would start on the edge and then blend down, okay? Versus at the top and smushing down. We don't want to smush the top. We want to go at the edge. So I'm going to go at the edge right here and blend it straight down to the bottom. Edge and straight down to the bottom. Edge and straight down to the bottom. Support the wall. Supporting the wall. Okay, I'm going to rotate this. Always give support to that wall. Okay, I'm still maintaining that top kind of curvy area of that top coil. I don't want to completely destroy it. I just want to blend in all of this clay so it's all really well worked together. Okay, so the inside is now blended, and now I need to work on the outside. Okay, so I'm going to turn my head sideways. Don't pick up your piece and blend like this, because that's how you smush it. Okay, So you're going to put your hand on the inside, support the wall, and blend it down. Okay? And it's a little bit challenging, but here is what that blending looks like. Okay, so it's going all the way through, but I still maintain some of that curve on the top of my coil, right? I didn't completely smush my coil. I still want to keep some thickness up here. This is just making sure all the coils are really cleanly integrated. Nothing's going to fall apart. It's strong, right? That's that craftsmanship piece we discussed. Strong, sturdy, reliable, right? Well built, well made. We don't want anything that's going to be floppy, rickety, saggy, okay, brittle. Okay. And now I have everything kind of blended in. But it looks like a hot mess. It's a hot mess. So you're going to take your credit card rib. Hopefully it's kind of clean. Okay. And you're going to support the outside walls and clean it up. This would be a really good time if you have extra cards to cut a little curve in there, and you can use that curve for the inside. It's really helpful. We have, as ceramic artists, we have special pottery tools for this. So we're going to use this special, it's called a metal rib. And I'm going to, it's got a curve built in. And that curve that's built in really helps get the job done. Okay. I'm going to do it to the inside, clean up anything that comes off, because there is going to be a bunch that comes off. And then I'm going to curve and bend my rib. It has to be flexible, right? Flexible. And I'm going to start cleaning off and smoothing out the extra. So every time you add 4 or 5 coils and you smush them together, you need to do cleanup. Okay? Don't leave it and wait till the end, because then it'll get leather hard and it'll be impossible to clean up properly. It will be really challenging, and you may end up having to scrape the clay away or slip and score it until you can get it soft enough so you can remove it. It makes it a lot harder. So we clean as we go, and that makes our work a lot cleaner, a lot smoother, and that's that other part of craftsmanship. Neat, clean, and tidy. We don't want anything that is sloppy and messy and has accidents, right? We want something that's neat and clean and tidy. I'm going to use my professional tool because I have it and I can. Otherwise, you'll use your plastic rib, otherwise known as like a credit card or a gift card. Okay, so we're going to spend some time cleaning this. I don't need to show you every step on camera, but on part 4, I'll show you what it looks like when it is nice and clean and it's ready. I have one that's a little bit closer to being clean. Let me get that out of here. Okay, this one was one I demonstrated for a different class on a different day, and it's a lot closer to being clean. Let's look at the differences. Okay, so this is the one I just made, and it's got a lot of bumps and lumps. This one's a little bit smoother, but it could be a lot smoother and a lot cleaner. Okay, don't obsess over it at this point, but you want to make sure you start with a nice clean slate. So when you keep moving, it's easier to keep it clean and it's easier to see your shapes. Okay, so that was part 3 of Coil Vase.